President Trump seemed pleased by the indictment.
John Bolton was just indicted by a grand jury in Maryland. Do you have a reaction to that?
I didn't know that. You tell me for the first time, but I think he's, a bad person, a bad guy, yeah.
Bolton denies all of it. These charges are not just about his focus on me or my diaries, but his intensive effort to intimidate his opponents to ensure that he alone determines what is said about his conduct. Dissent and disagreement are foundational to America's constitutional system and vitally important to our freedom. I look forward to the fight to defend my lawful conduct and to expose his abuse of power. With us now, former Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Berit Berger, former senior DOJ official, Assistant Janet Reno, Shan Wu, former Trump attorney Jim Trusty. Nice to see all of you. Gents, you'll understand. Ladies first. Berit, how clear is the law here? You look at the indictment, and it seems to indicate that the government has evidence that Bolton had and transmitted via Gmail and AOL documents that were secret or classified, top secret in some cases. Is that per se, if that happened, is that by definition a crime?
No, it's not per se a crime. There has to be some sort of an intent there. They would have to prove that Ambassador Bolton intentionally retained these documents or sent out classified information. But, you asked the question, is this lawfare or law enforcement? And I'm going to go with law enforcement here. This indictment to me stands in pretty stark contrast to the indictments we saw of James Comey and Letitia James. This is really the type of charging document that we're used to seeing coming out of DOJ. I mean, the difference is not only you can just see the length and the detail that we actually get, the description of the charges here, but it's interesting to me, it doesn't describe a one-off, right? This is not just one document that he has. This is really a pattern of him using these insecure systems to disseminate classified information in a way that he obviously knew was wrong. And you also see a lot of career prosecutors signed on to this document, which is something that we did not see in the Comey or James indictments. So this one really strikes me as more consistent with what we're used to seeing coming out of DOJ. So I think if the prosecutors are able to prove these allegations against him, this doesn't look good for Bolton.
One thing that struck me is that in Bolton's statement, and it would be remiss if I didn't tell our viewers that John Bolton's a friend of mine. I have always respected him. I've known him for 15 plus years. That said, his statement did not say, I have never had in my possession classified documents outside of a secure area, and I never would. I mean, there was a lot of window in that statement. And remember, this is the same John Bolton who, when Donald Trump was found to have had classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, made it pretty clear how he thought about things. Take a listen.
The mishandling is bad for a president and a vice president to do in and of itself, and it sets a bad example for the thousands of other people in the federal bureaucracy who have security clearances, because if the people at the top can be casual about it and then get away with it, that is not a good lesson to teach.
Okay, so 18 counts in the indictment, Shan Wu. You think about the evidence that the government says they have. You combine it with that clip that shows Bolton knew exactly what the rules were and was on TV calling other people out. How do you defend that?
Well, first of all, I would say it's actually lawfare, going back to that original one. And I agree, indictment's much bigger this time. DOJ is reverting to longer indictments. But I think the problem right now is in analyzing any new charges by DOJ, they've lost the presumption of regularity. And in fact, there's a presumption of irregularity at this point.
I don't know what regularity or irregularity mean.
Oh, there's a doctrine they call presumption of regularity, which just means that the courts tend to assume that a public official is acting with good faith. And so how that works out in practice is prosecutors get the benefit of a doubt in the courtroom. That's beginning to really go away with the attitude of judges towards the DOJ prosecutors. And here, in terms of defending it, just like Berit was pointing out, there's a lot of room to defend it in terms of the intent, what are the actual facts of who he was communicating with, what was in what he communicated with. And nonetheless, even though this is a much more substantive indictment, I certainly expect a robust set of vindictive prosecution and selective prosecution motions as well.
So probably point number one in any of those motions would be even this soundbite from Donald Trump in the Oval Office on Wednesday.
I think it was the worst weaponization of a political opponent in the history of the world, let alone this country. And I hope that everybody's, they're involved in it. I'm not. I'm the one that had to suffer through it and ultimately win. But what they did was criminal. Deranged Jack Smith, in my opinion, is a criminal. And I noticed his interviewer was, I think that was Weissman. And I hope they're going to look into Weissman, too. Weissman's a bad guy.
Jim, you've advised the president before. For a president who clearly wants to see convictions of some of his past, I'll use the word enemies, adversaries, whatever you want to say, would you advise him to stop talking about it publicly?
I would say, look, it's not helping Kelly Hayes and the U.S. Attorney's Office in Maryland. It's not making their job any easier. But I got to tell you, I mean, and God love Shane, but you're whistling past the graveyard. This is not anything close to lawfare. If you look at the allegations in this indictment, the specific intent is proven 1,000 times over by John Bolton admitting he knows the rules when it refers to national defense and information. And why is it a problem for him to get on Google or on Gmail and get on AOL to send daily diary entries as a national security advisor to what is probably his wife and daughter, if you read between the lines? Why is he's creating this book in advance? The reason it's a problem is it's insecure, something he criticized on air all the time, and Iran hacked his email account. So this is the National Security Advisor of the United States trying to write a book, getting $1 million sign-off on that book, going through the process with DOJ of trying to sterilize some of the classified information, and he got a warning shot where Judge Lambert said, hey, man, you are risking the national security of the United States and you're risking indictment. And this guy still held on to documents both on his computer and hard copies that were recovered in the search warrant. This is, I mean,
Jim,
look, it doesn't
the
mean
question
they're
would
going to win. Abbe Lowell's a good attorney. He's going to come up with stuff. But vindictive and selective prosecution claims and all this kind of comparison, like what about Letitia, what about Comey, that's not really going to go that far. Those are very high standards to try to get a case dismissed on constitutional grounds. And everything I see is career prosecutors, professional speaking indictment, and devastating evidence of intent.
I'm just thinking about Abbe Lowell right now. Is there anybody he doesn't represent? It was Hunter. It was Jared Kushner. Now it's Bolton. I don't know, Berit. Does he have a chance here?
Look, I got to say the best thing that Bolton has going for him right now, quite frankly, is the timing of his indictment. I think because of when it came out, it is going to necessarily get lumped together, even if it's just in sort of the court of public opinion, it's going to get lumped together with Comey and James. I think they are very different, but I think that timing of it just adds fuel to the fire of this is all politically motivated.
Appreciate all three of you. Thank you. And better yet, you're not all sending me a bill. To have this kind of legal expertise all together is a privilege at 9 o'clock at night. Thank you all. First wrote about this in War Notes. Your chance for an inside look at the show every day. It's kind of how we've put the show together. It's free. warnotes.com to subscribe. I'll see you on social media. Got some fun stuff for you at Leland Vittert.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.